By invitation. Lessons from the Gilded Age. History offers clues to what comes next, says Richard White, Emeritus Professor of American History at Stanford University. In 1894, over the objection of the governor and the mayor, President Grover Cleveland sent American soldiers into Chicago and then invoked the Insurrection Act to suppress strikes and protests. His move precipitated the violence it was supposed to prevent. 2 years later, Cleveland, the only president before Donald Trump to win a second term after losing a re-election bid, had become a pariah. A bitter presidential election between William Jennings Bryan and William McKinley underscored the deep divisions and glaring problems of the Gilded Age. The era was coming to an end, but not as the result of McKinley's victory. It sank under its own weight of accumulated problems and aborted solutions. What lessons does that period hold for today? The 1894 moment resonates in this second Gilded Age. Yet these two eras are not doppelgangers, they have distinct and important differences. History offers clues to what comes next, says Richard White, Emeritus Professor of American History at Stanford University. Both came at the end of great struggles, the American Civil War and the Cold War. Victories over rival systems produced euphoric predictions of hegemony and consensus, but the ensuing Gilded Ages instead became revolutionary periods without either revolutionary politics or any dominant social vision. Both transformed the economy. The first turned a nation of independent producers and slaves into a nation of discontented wage laborers. The second shredded the social safety net that arose in the 20th century and ushered in the gig economy with its associated precarity. And both eras were periods of technological progress, economic growth, and rough parity between parties. Mass immigration produced a diverse population and compensated for declining birth rates. But festering beneath the gilded surface that gave the eras their name lurked political paralysis, corruption, gross economic inequality, a distrust of politicians and institutions, racial conflict, and declining material well-being. In each period, intense partisanship produced few lasting political accomplishments. Obamacare may be the only successful constructive rather than destructive legislation of the second Gilded Age. America had its age of Jackson and Roosevelt, but there was no age of Cleveland, and I doubt there will be an age of Trump. The politics of both periods were backward-looking. Anti-monopolism, present in both political parties, astutely assessed the problems of the first Gilded Age, but was ultimately reactionary, longing for an earlier world of free labor, small producers, and Protestant values. The MAGA movement and legal originalists also envisage a return to an earlier America. The legacy of both periods was, and is, their problems, not their solutions. Charles Francis Adams, president of the Union Pacific Railroad, described the 19th century tycoons he knew in a way that resonates today. They were big financially, but were mere money-getters and traders who were unattractive and uninteresting. In the first Gilded Age, solutions percolated to the surface only to be blocked by the courts. But they resurfaced later. In the 20th century, new bureaucracies gained power and autonomy. A producer-based economy yielded to a consumer-based one. Overcoming the courts required constitutional amendments to shift taxation from tariffs to income taxes, institute direct election of senators, and enfranchise women. In the current Gilded Age, attempts are being made to smash some of those reforms, and indeed even some older reforms from the Reconstruction era. But whatever short-term success they achieve, they will ultimately fail. There are no laws of history, except one: it does not go backwards. For clues to America's future, consider its problems. There is surprising consensus across the political spectrum on some of them: the struggle to make ends meet for many citizens, corruption, and political and economic unfairness. Other challenges, such as climate change and the difficulty of funding the government, cannot be avoided by denying them. The progressive era that followed the first Gilded Age was flawed. It betrayed black Americans and immigrants, but it was forward-looking. It drew upon ideas from both parties and emphasized creating institutions rather than destroying them. The current Gilded Age will end when a new movement abandons today's politics and tackles the all-too-obvious problems of the past half-century. Periods that follow Gilded Ages are eras in which politics catches up with revolutionary change.